Hi, Tom here today with Granite Custom Cabinets, and this is part 2 on table saws. We're going to talk about some modifications and a few tricks we can do to our saw to really get some top-notch performance out of it. So the first thing, this was mentioned in Table Saws 101, is building a fence liner. So the best fence liners are something like phenolic plastic, or in this particular case, I use Baltic birch with a layer of high pressure laminate on it. So what you're going to want to do with this fence liner is you're going to put it on, you're going to tighten all those screws, then you're going to run your dial indicator up and down your miter gauge groove, and you're going to discover that more than likely it's kind of like a series of waves. It's going to be waving in at every screw. So what you're going to do is shim behind that fence. I like to use aluminum tape, non-compressible. You're going to shim this liner behind this fence until this thing is perfectly straight, and you can also micro shim it for square, even if the body of your fence has a twist to it. So the cool thing about liners is we can build them to whatever height we want. Say, for instance, we want to do some edge grooving. We can do a taller liner to help support our workpiece. We can also leave some extra room here to clamp feather boards, things like that. Another good reason for a liner, I chose white for mine. So when I'm standing over here, 2, sometimes 3 feet away from the blade, I can actually see the entire edge of my sheet goods as I'm passing it through the saw. And if I start drifting a little bit, I'll see a black line opening up. So the other thing here, a couple more reasons in favor of the zero clearance insert. So the primary reason for these kind of starts out of necessity. You're going to cut something like melamine, you're going to find out you got all these ugly chips on the back. Well, when you cut a slot right through this insert acts like a chip breaker and severs those chips so that they can't travel into the underside of your workpiece. These things do wear. This particular insert's been used for probably 10 to 15 years. So repeatedly it gets taken out of the saw. The worn part of it is highly abraded, will get filled up with JB Weld and then scraped square and clean again. And we'll keep using it for another 6 months until we have to refill it again. The other thing that really ups your table saw game and results in super clean cuts are blade stabilizers. These are precision machine steel plates. One goes on your inbound side, one on your outbound, and they do exactly what their name implies. They stabilize your blade. They cut down on the wobble and also just the overall harmonics of the blade as it's cutting. They make a huge difference. Last but not least, this is probably one of the most valuable parts of this video. How to make your cursors really accurate. So a cursor is kind of like a rifle. It has to be tuned to an individual person for the most part. It just seems to be the case. You wouldn't think it would be, but it is. So the goal here is to get this cursor as close to your fence rail as possible. That way, when you're looking down on it, and you're supposed to put your eye directly over it and look straight down on it, and that's where the differences come in. So the farther away from the tape surface this cursor is, the greater any deviation from your eye being directly over it is going to affect the perceived reading. So as you can see here, kind of hard to see, but I have shimmed this cursor down with some washers to get it closer to the tape. I would like to shim this cursor farther down to the tape, but we take this fence on and off the saw all the time. And as far as I know, Jet has quit making these cursors. I don't want to have to make my own, and I don't want the thing to get cracked or broken. So that's why it has not been shimmed even closer to the tape. So another thing we do a lot of is eliminating friction on your saw table. This is the brand I use all the time. This saw table gets waxed like a Karate Kid's mentor's car. If we're cutting panels, it might be waxed up to 3 times a day. Makes a huge difference between not having to strain to push things through the saw. Makes things a lot safer. Hope this video helps you guys out. And if you like what you hear and you're learning something, please subscribe. And we're open to questions and comments.